Howdy good fishing people, and welcome back to Fishing with Seth, or Tying with Seth in this case, and Maine Sport Outfitters. Happy to be with you as always, sharing fishing ideas. And we're doing something a little bit new, or at least in the next few segments, we're going to try a how I tie it and a how I fish it segment. So this morning, the how I tie it segment with this simple little smelt pattern. Stay tuned, everybody. In the initial stages of this simple smelt pattern, we started the thread back behind the eye to kind of give us a stopping point where we're going to make sure to leave plenty of room to finish the fly at the head. And we tied in first a crystal flash tail, and then a little clump of mallard, which we've got from our sportsman and local friend Aaron Henderson again this year. He's starting to pile us up with birds. So this gives a nice barred, full tail that has lots of flash and different texture. And we had a tag of tinsel tied in, as well as a length of wire, and I've advanced the tinsel, folding it so the silver side is showing out, and advanced the tinsel so we have a nice, durable, thin, shiny body. Stay tuned for the hackle and wing. After completing the tinsel underbody and advancing the wire, what I did is I tied in a mallard hackle by the tip, and I took one turn, tied that hackle off on the bottom of the shank. Then I tied in a couple of strands of green crystal flash and 4 strands of peacock herl to develop a nice dark lateral line in the middle of the bait fish. So the importance here is shiny and then a dark lateral line, a signature characteristic of this little bait fish, the rainbow smelt. Now we're going to build the rainbowy part to the wing and the head. So after completing that 2-part hackle where we take one turn to just put a few fibers on every side of the hook shank, then we tie in our lateral line, that really strong dark color in the middle of the wing of the fly. Then I tied in a little bit of silver flashaboo just to add lots of extra shine to the wing, and did a layer of light blue, a layer of hot pink, and then a shortest layer of olive on top. The last move with this fly is to make things especially speedy and simple, is we're going to create an eye spot by simply doing contrasting colors. So I tied the fly with yellow thread. Now I'm switching over to black thread to just kind of give it a strong contrasting look. So any angle that the fish runs into this fly, they're going to see a nice bit of contrast at the front, which could imitate the eye of the bait fish, and that is, along with the lateral line, one of those telltale characteristics that sort of belies the hiding prey out there in the water, is that their lateral line is obvious and dark, and their eye is obvious and high contrast. And there is a finished, simple smelt. Thanks as ever for tuning in, everybody. Great to share these fishing ideas. The How I Tie It Simple Smelt is in the bag. Stay tuned for the How I Fish It installment. Hello, good fishing folk. Welcome back to Fishing with Seth and Maine Sport Outfitters. Happy to be with you back out here on McGonagall with our friend Joel, and back in the canoe. We're going to show the how I fish it portion of the Simple Smelt. We are heading northward up the lake right along Route 52. And this little cushion of air, because the breeze is just coming straight down the lake, is giving us a little bit of a help in keeping the canoe righted and just keeping the fly traveling in a good direction. Also, this velocity change in the air that happens where the wind kind of pushes up against the rocks and up against Maiden's Cliff, which towers above us, it continues down through the water column. So it condenses the bait, and wherever bait gets pushed into a velocity change, somewhere in the depths, the fish really take note. So I catch a lot of fish just patrolling this area right next to shore. 20, 50 feet maybe next to shore is a highly productive area, and also a spot where bigger boats can't really maneuver. So the method here is trolling, and the rod is in a simple and kind of crude yard sail rod holder that's mounted on a plank of wood, and it's something that I can easily put down on the floor of the canoe if the wind gets dangerously gusty. But this is just so enjoyable, a way to get out on the water, get exercise, breathe fresh air, and fish incredibly effective unless you have somebody else in the boat with you to hold on to the rod and do the more active fishing thing. So we're going to troll up a little bit further and then stop and make some casts. So to change up the fishing and to make sure that we can home in on a feeding pattern that might actually result in some fish, after all, we're not just out here for the exercise, but we're trying to learn a little something in the fishing process too to help us be more effective in this sport that we love. This full sinking line has a color change in between the running line and the head of the line, so it's basically this aquamarine green and totally clear. When that color change comes into my hands, I'm basically going to tip the rod back and check the fly every time. When you're trying to troll and cover water, covering water is key. We'll come back to that point in a moment. But when you're trying to cover water, you've got to make sure that the fly doesn't have the wing fouled around itself like this. So this great little smelt pattern that we've designed is maybe only qualified great because it's got a very sparse and slender wing and it wraps around the hook pretty well. So casting really needs to be kind of slow and deliberate. So basically dropping the fly in the water, having that weight forward portion outside of the tip of the rod. If I kind of do just a little bit of gentle roll casting to get the fly up near the surface, then I pick it up once into the air and shoot a little bit of line, that's my cast. If I do more false casting, the wing will invariably wrap around the hook. And so at this point, it would either be the rod back in the rod holder, or if we're drifting with the wind, we can start to pinch and feed some of that slack back out there as we do in our float tube videos. So again, I'm always going to yard that line in and kind of fishy ways, darting that bait fish back to me. And when I feel that color change come into my hands, or really it's a big diameter change too, I just tip the rod back, and it's okay to change hands just because, you know, canoes have one side that you can handle easily. So just put the rod in the opposite hand, bring the fly in, and oh, there's a perfectly good looking fly because we were gently casting. So back in the water it goes with the wing righted, and I'm just moving really gently, lobbing the line and doing a roll cast to get the fly up near the surface. One false cast, out goes the little bit of line shooting out into space, back into the rod holder, the rod goes, and off we go to cover a little bit more water down the lake. Thank you as ever, good fishing people, for tuning in and taking part in these fishing ideas with us. And as I mentioned on our first canoe fishing video, this really is part of just getting outside and getting exercise, and a little slogan or mantra which I call bringing your yoga with you. And I'm one to talk because I haven't really practiced in eons, but I remember what I learned, and really breathing and just enjoying yourself and coming to this from a good place is an incredibly important component. The wind is going to blow you around in circles. The wing of that fancy, simple, but, you know, just made up smelt is going to foul around the hook. You've got to check it all the time. That's the fun of fishing. You feel that bite, yard that line in, make sure it wasn't a weed, make sure you've got a good sharp hook point on there, get that fly back out there, get back to paddling, and that way you show the fly to a lot of fish and you enjoy yourself that much more. Thanks as always, everybody. Bye for now.